Well, to give another perspective on the crisis in Southern Kaduna, we're being joined now by Solomon Musa, who is the president, Southern Kaduna People's Union, SOKAPO. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you very much.
Well, you did hear the very strong allegations of Comrade Sanusi Maikudi on what he sees as the perspective in Southern Kaduna. Do you agree with him?
Well, honestly, I think Alhaji Sanusi Maikudi came with an agenda, and the sole agenda is to denigrate, is to revise history, is to tell a narrative that actually is not. There are so many things that he said. Number one, he said SOKAPO is responsible for some of the things SOKAPO and can, and it is very, very, very clear that there is no such thing. He talked about the issue of Marwa, you know, that there's a Marwa in Adamawa and there's a Marwa in Southern Kaduna, and so trying to show that actually because of that, because of the similarities in the names, that actually Marwa is that the Hausa Fulanis are actually from Southern Kaduna. Far from the truth. Far from that at all. The history of Southern Kaduna is very, very clear. He spoke about the fact that more than he gave some statistics, some numbers of 120-something people were killed in Matsirga alone, and that the report of the Lemu Committee, the report of Human Rights Watch Committee, this is a blatant attempt to completely revise history within living memory. The post-election crisis happened just in 2011. And in 2011, the reports are there. Go through the Human Rights Watch report that he alluded to. And I'm aware of the fact that in that year, he wrote a particularly very bitter story, an advertorial actually in Daily Trust, saying a lot of things, coalition of Muslims in Southern Kaduna who have genocide has been committed against. Now, let's go to the 2011 post-election crisis. The 2011 post-election crisis, the reports are there. The Human Rights Watch report clearly pointed out that in 2011, immediately after the post-election crisis, the supporters of the then CPC candidate, when the results began to trickle out, they began to go on a killing spree in 12 northern states. The underline is 12 northern states. And in those 12 northern states, 800 lives in total were killed in 12 northern states. And opposite to Kaduna State, that 180 lives were killed in Kaduna State, and that the killings actually started in Kaduna and in Zaria, not even in Southern Kaduna. So, but people have started reversing. These are things that are within public domain. Now, the killings, what somebody said, the governor specifically said, actually his own narrative is that between 600 to 1,000 lives were killed in Southern Kaduna alone, as against what is there, whether it's the newspapers, whether it's Human Rights report, whether it's Aguai's report and other reports. So clearly it's an attempt to tar us black and nothing more. Now he spoke about the fact that virtually all of them, over 60-something thousand people, were displaced in Southern Kaduna. That is a figment of his own imagination, with due respect. Now,
just before we get to,
yes,
to more of these allegations, which I'm sure you want to quickly respond to, what he seems to be pointing to is that at the root of this is the indigenous-settler dichotomy, that they have not, even though they have lived in Southern Kaduna for years, they're not been accepted as indigents right now of Southern Kaduna. Is that a problem?
That has never been a problem. We have accepted the Fulanis, we have accepted the Hausas, we have accepted the Muslims, we have accepted the Yorubas, we have accepted the Igbos, and I tell you there is no other place in the whole of Kaduna State where whether settlers or indigenes have been granted indigene certificates except in our own local governments. But I tell you this, go over to other local governments that are not Southern Kaduna, you may all your children might have been born there. They are not even given indigenous certificate at all. They are not recognized. They are not. There are a lot of things, areas that were being discriminated upon. So it's like I said, it's a figment of his imagination.
Even when he talks about his mother's village and, you know, the fact that it's been taken over by people who say that, well, they were not really ever settlers or beg pardon, indigents of that particular village.
His mother's village. Matsirga, today, I know Matsirga very well. Matsirga is around just some kilometers from Kafanchan. Now, I'm not aware of the fact that anybody has taken over any other land. And of course, you know it, that if it is true that anyone has taken over any land, it's a simple matter. By the time you report the matter, because this is something that can be easily settled judicially, but I'm not aware of any such at all. If it is someone's land, it's very much possible there might be isolated case of perhaps I have given you my land to stay on, and then if there's a problem, I ask you to leave. I mean, it happens everywhere. If I give you a land and I ask you to stay there, and there is a problem, it does not matter. That is regardless of the fact that whether you are Hausa, whether you are Muslim, whether you are Fulani, it's regardless of that. But there is nobody that has taken over anybody's land.
Is it regardless of also how long they have stayed?
Yeah, if I pledge land to you, if I pledge land to you to use and to return to me, I reserve the right at any point in time. That's what I'm saying. I'm painting a scenario that there might be isolated cases. I mean, whether it's in Zaria, whether it's in Kaduna, wherever it is, there might be such isolated cases. But to assert that, it is completely false.
No, I'm saying that assuming this land was pledged generations ago, for instance, would you be right, for, you know, to ask back the land, maybe, you know, say...
Depending on the agreement.
A number of years, maybe generations after?
Yeah, depending on the agreement. You know, because we're bound by agreements. If the agreement is you can use this land and be paying tribute, traditional tribute, what we call galla, and then at any point in time I want my land back, then I have a right to ask for it. And of course, if that happens, for example, I have a land where I live somewhere in the northern parts of the state. I pay a tribute. And of course, at any point in time, the owner wants it, I'll return it to him.